Hello and welcome back to the A.M.I.R YouTube channel. Today's question: what are the Abraham Accords? On the surface, the Abraham Accords seem to be an attempt to broker peace in the Middle East. But are the Accords beneficial for all nations in the Middle East? The Abraham Accords were agreements brokered by U.S. President Donald Trump in his first presidential term in 2020, with the stated intention to normalize relations between Israel and other Arab nations. We must recognize that President Donald Trump and his presidential cabinet are closely aligned with Israel, and this makes the Abraham Accords extremely concerning due to the Israeli war crimes against its Arab neighbors, Palestine, Lebanon, and Syria. If the Abraham Accords are supposed to broker stability and peace between Israel and its Arab neighbors, then why is Israel still bombing, waging war, and violating ceasefire agreements that Israel has agreed to? We as Americans must oppose murder and mayhem, and not support nations that participate in atrocities against humanity, regardless of brokered agreements like the Abraham Accords. Is aligning with Israel a good thing for America? United Nations advisor and professor at Columbia University, Jeffrey Sachs, does not think so.
Israel is not a friend of the United States. It is an enemy of the Palestinian people. It is murdering them. It is causing America to be isolated around the world diplomatically and in every other way. It's exposing what are Western values, U.S. values, complicity in genocide. The consequences of this so-called alliance are devastating. Until Israel becomes a normal country and not a rogue state, we have no business for one moment supporting this kind of fascistic regime. This is a murderous regime that says that they're going to, what are they going to do with the 8 million Palestinian Arabs? Are they going to kill them all? Are they going to ethnically cleanse them? Are they just going to rule over them like an apartheid state? Well, they're trying all of the above. And that's our ally. That's what Trump defends. This is a complete disgrace. And Netanyahu is clear. He's on the record. Let every American hear this. Are we in the United States to be an ally with a country that is committing genocide, ethnic cleansing, and apartheid rule? Or are we to have some semblance of decency and values and not isolate ourselves and not spend already more than $20 billion on this and talking about tens of billions of dollars more to give to this country that knows nothing about diplomacy and nothing about human decency right now? They're murderers.
Now let's take a look at which nations have aligned themselves with the State of Israel through the Abraham Accords. We see some very prominent Arab nations, the UAE, Bahrain, and Morocco, which now gives them direct financial ties and dealings with the rogue State of Israel. Let's take a look a little closer at the Abraham Accords and what they are.
The Middle East has long been a region of conflict, especially between Israel and its Arab neighbors. But in 2020, a surprising development called the Abraham Accords reshaped the region's diplomatic landscape. So what are the Abraham Accords and why are they so important? Let's dive in. The Abraham Accords are a series of agreements brokered by the United States under the Trump administration. The initial agreements were signed in September 2020, normalizing diplomatic and economic ties between Israel, the United Arab Emirates, UAE, and Bahrain. Later, other countries like Morocco and Sudan followed suit. This marked the first normalization agreements between Israel and Arab countries since Egypt in 1979 and Jordan in 1994. The name Abraham reflects the shared patriarch of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, symbolizing hope for coexistence. The accords include commitments to establish embassies and consulates, promote trade, tourism, and investment, enhance security cooperation, particularly in defense and intelligence. The primary countries involved in the Abraham Accords include Israel. As a key party to the Accords, Israel agreed to normalize diplomatic relations with the participating Arab nations. The United Arab Emirates, or UAE, was the first Arab country to formally announce its normalization of relations with Israel under the Abraham Accords. This historic agreement includes the establishment of full diplomatic relations, as well as economic, technological, and cultural exchanges. Bahrain followed the UAE's lead by signing a similar agreement with Israel. The Bahrain-Israel peace agreement also encompasses diplomatic relations and cooperation in various sectors. Sudan joined the Abraham Accords by agreeing to normalize relations with Israel. This marked a major shift in Sudan's foreign policy and led to the removal of Sudan from the U.S. list of state sponsors of terrorism. Morocco, another Arab nation, joined the Accords with a commitment to normalize relations with Israel. This agreement included the United States' recognition of Morocco's sovereignty over Western Sahara in exchange for Morocco's engagement with Israel. Why are they significant? The Accords shifted decades-long policies where Arab nations refused to normalize ties with Israel until the Israeli-Palestinian conflict was resolved. This shows how the Arab countries are gradually decoupling themselves from the Palestine question. Full diplomatic ties established between Israel, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain had a positive impact on the entire region. Countries like the UAE and Israel have engaged in trade, technology collaborations, and tourism. Over $3 billion worth of trade agreements were signed in the first 2 years. Shared concerns about Iran's influence in the region played a major role in fostering these partnerships.
There's a great potential for a major war in the Middle East in the near future. And the key agitator in this war is Israel, who will most likely attack Iran for a second time within a calendar year. Because of all nations in the Middle East, Iran poses the most threat due to it being outspoken against Israel's aggression on its Arab neighbors and Israel's attempt to steal land for the expansion of the Greater Israel Project. Palestine itself has called out nations who are involved with the Abraham Accords as a betrayal to Palestine.
Israel calls it a new era of relations with the Arab world. The Palestinians call it a betrayal. The United Arab Emirates agrees to normalize ties with Israel, drawing both praise and condemnation. Is this a step towards peace or a stumble in the wrong direction? I'm Ali Hassan, and today's newsmaker is the agreement known as the Abraham Accord. The UAE has become the first ever Gulf nation to normalize ties with the State of Israel. It broke a long-standing but unofficial rule that the Arab world would withhold diplomatic relations with Israel until the Palestinian issue was resolved. The Emiratis were quick to point out that under the agreement, Israel has suspended its plans to annex part of the occupied West Bank. But the Palestinian people say this deal was a complete betrayal, and their concern is that other countries in the Gulf could follow suit. So, is the plight of Palestinians being brushed aside? And will this deal make the region safer or only more tense? Natalie Pahonen reports.
The United Arab Emirates will become the third Arab nation to have full diplomatic ties with Israel. The landmark accord was brokered by the Trump administration.
By uniting two of America's closest and most capable partners in the region, something which said could not be done, this deal is a significant step towards building a more peaceful, secure, and prosperous Middle East.
The UAE will normalize ties with Israel in exchange for Israel suspending its plans to annex parts of the occupied West Bank.
This is a win-win deal. It's a win-win deal for peace in the region, and it brings actually a ray of hope in a very difficult time in our region, not known really for good times anyway.
It also means the UAE and Israel will be able to have an open economic relationship. There'll be bilateral agreements in areas like tourism, energy, technology, communications, and security. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he expects other Arab states will follow the UAE's lead.
אני צופה שמדינות נוספות יצטרפו למעגל השלום איתנו. זהו מהפך היסטורי שמקדם את השלום גם עם העולם הערבי, ובסופו של דבר יקדם את השלום, שלום אמיתי, מפוקח, בטוח, גם עם הפלסטינים.
The accord is being touted as a foreign policy victory for both President Donald Trump ahead of the November election and for Netanyahu, who has boasted about his ability to build relations with Arab states. It comes after Trump unveiled his controversial Middle East plan in January that would pave the way for Israel to annex parts of the occupied West Bank and the Jordan Valley. This new deal has put a temporary hold on those plans, but Netanyahu has stressed they remain on the table.
אני מזכיר לכם שבהסכם הנוכחי, לא רק שישראל לא נסוגה ממטר מרובע אחד, אלא שתוכנית טראמפ כוללת, לבקשתי, את החלת הריבונות של ישראל על שטחים נרחבים ביהודה ושומרון.
Palestinians have rejected the agreement. They've called it a betrayal.
Normalization with Israel is treason, and what the UAE did is the highest betrayal of the Palestinian people, a betrayal of an Arab pillar and the Palestinian cause.
The UAE's move runs counter to a 2002 Arab League-endorsed plan. Under that initiative, Arab states were to establish diplomatic ties with Israel in exchange for Israel's withdrawal from occupied territory and its acceptance of a Palestinian state.
Unfortunately, nowadays, most of the Arab countries are looking for their own interests at the expense of the Palestinian cause.
The UAE says it took a pragmatic decision with its own needs in mind. This will be remembered as an historic agreement for the Gulf nation, but also one that has blindsided Palestinians.
So far, those nations who are a part of the Abraham Accords have spoken out against Israel's actions when it comes to its aggression on its Arab neighbors, but the financial dealings and transactions have not stopped when it comes to dealing with Israel. If a second war does indeed happen, watch closely to who takes sides with who, and remember the old American saying, actions speak louder than words. Just because saying you condemn a wrong action is only the first step in stopping a wrong action. Divide and conquer is a military strategy, and Israel has played this card well, dividing Arab and Muslim states against one another, and the next step would be to conquer the biggest opposition and then take the remaining pieces left over. Is the Abraham Accords doing just that, dividing the Muslim and Arab states? Will Washington's alignment with Israel blow back on America? Will Israel pull America in a war in the Middle East? Only time will tell. I have added all the links in this video in the description below, so that you may go to these YouTube channels and watch their original content. Thank you for taking time to watch, and please subscribe to this channel and share it with others in order to get the latest uploads on the geopolitical landscape that our mainstream media chooses not to cover. See you next time. Thank you for watching and have a blessed day.